Hey, shalom, shalom, shalom. First and foremost, call Allah Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahushua, Ba'ashim Kakodash. Double honors once again go out to the apostles and elders of the millstone who continue to teach us His truth with the Holy Spirit. All right, this is Naaman with the DC camp. And again, this is from newsbreak.com. And it says AOC slammed Kamala Harris for telling Guatemalan migrants do not come, saying the U.S. helped destabilize the country in the first place. All right. And I read this, and I also read some of the comments. And lo and behold, what you know, all of them missed the mark entirely. All right. They failed to address what AOC, Ms. Cortez, statement. All right. They didn't want to address it, it seems like. And we'll get to that, but here they are here. The Vice President Kamala Harris told Guatemalans on Monday they shouldn't try to cross the U.S. border. You will be turned back. All right. And of course, Cortez says this was disappointing to see. And the reason being, she said, well, the U.S. was responsible for destabilizing the country in the first place. And she is absolutely right. But like I said at the onset, the commenters failed to see that. Their responses were totally political in the sense that you can tell they're entrenched in this Democrat versus Republican. They didn't see the big picture. All right. And one of the things I've always said, if you want to understand the U.S. and why people hate it so, you must look at their foreign policy. All right. So continuing on, it says, at a press conference in Guatemala City on Monday, Harris told Guatemalans thinking of trying to enter the U.S. to stay home, do not come. Later on Monday, Ocasio-Cortez said of Harris's speech, this is disappointing to see, first, seeking asylum at any U.S. border is a 100% legal method of arrival. Second, the U.S. spent decades contributing to regime change and destabilization in Latin America. We can't help set someone's house on fire and then blame them for fleeing. And she's absolutely right. So let's look into that. It says, this is an article from 7 years ago, 2014, and it says, here's how the U.S. sparked a refugee crisis on the border in 8 simple steps. All right. It says, this is from the HuffingtonPost.com, and it says the 57,000 children from, remember this is 7 years ago now, 57,000 children from Central America who have streamed across the U.S.-Mexico border this year were driven in large part by the United States itself. While Democrats and Republicans have been pointing fingers at each other, in reality, the current wave of migration from El Salvador, Guatemala, and Honduras has its roots in 6 decades of U.S. policies carried out by members of both parties. Since the 1950s, the U.S. has sown violence and instability in Central America. Wow. Now, if memory serves, that organization that used to be the OSS during World War II, its name was changed to the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency. They say their first mission was in Iran with, was it Mossadegh, who wanted to nationalize his oil. This is his resource now. But their mission was, of course, to get him out, and they installed the Shah, who was a puppet. And their second one, I'm guessing, I don't know which number, after Iran, could have been this. And this is 1954, I believe the same year. It says U.S. overthrows Ardennes. All right, the story of U.S.-led destabilization of Central America began in 54 with the overthrow of the elected Guatemalan government of President Jacobo Arbenz, a populist leader inspired by President Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal. All right, so he was inspired by an American president. But it says Arbenz had plans for an ambitious land redistribution program that aimed to help a nation composed largely of landless farmers. I think I got my answer. But those plans butted against the interest of the United Fruit Company. Wow. Wow. Now, this is taking me back, even though it's not saying it here. Well, let me continue. It says a U.S. corporation that owned much of Guatemala's arable land, along with railroad infrastructure and a port. The CIA helped engineer the overthrow of the Arbenz government, laying the foundation for decades of government instability and eventually a civil war that will claim more than 200,000 lives by the 80s. That war wasn't fully resolved until the 1990s. Our involvement in Central America has not been a very positive one over the last 60 years. Representative Beto O'Rourke, a Democrat from El Paso, Texas, told the Huffington Post, "You can go back to the coup that overthrew Jacobo Arbenz in '54, fully backed by the Eisenhower administration and the Dulles brothers." And we got an airport here down in Virginia named after one of these assholes. It says, who had an interest in the United Fruit Company, whose fight with the government really precipitated the crisis that led to the coup. It set a pattern. You look at the decades following that and the military strongmen and the juntas and the mass killings, and it's no wonder Guatemala is in such terrible shape today. I could end it right there, but let's go on. 2, the United States fuels civil wars. Along with the decades-long war against leftists in Guatemala, the U.S. organized and funded El Salvador's protracted war with the FMLN, a left-wing guerrilla movement. The U.S. also funded counterinsurgency efforts in Honduras, which became a staging ground for the Contras. Death squads flourished, more than 75,000 people died, and civil society collapsed. Oh boy. This is Revelation chapter 6. Beheading the first seal rider on white horse. 2 or 3, I should say, the second seal war. 4. And there went out another horse that was red, and power was given to him that sat thereon to take peace from the earth, and that they should kill one another, and there was given unto him a great sword. This is what we've been trying to tell you all along. Out there on the highways and byways, on the corners, not in your churches. What have you learned of this in those whorehouses they call churches? The answer is nothing. And you're so caught up in this dynamic Republican, Democrat, Republican. And that's purposely done. All right. There's certain institutions set up to keep our people deaf, dumb, blind, and stupid. The churches that I just mentioned, the media, boy, has that been weaponized in all its forms. All right. The dumbing down of America. All right, but this devil senses that he's got a short time, and that's true. So he's speeding things up. All right, it says, let's see. If today's crisis were simply a result of Central American confusion about the president's policy regarding immigrant children, as is widely alleged, one might expect children to be coming in equal numbers from every Central American country, but notably Nicaragua, a country that borders Honduras and one in which the U.S. failed to keep a far-left government from coming to power, is today relatively stable and not a source of rapid migration. It is led by President Daniel Ortega, whose Sandinista movement took power in 1979, and held off the U.S.-backed Contras until an opposition government was elected in 1990. You see the direct effects of these Cold War policies. All right, Nicaragua doesn't really have a gang problem, and researchers have traced this back to the 1980s in U.S. Cold War policy. Again, you have to understand the U.S.'s foreign policies. 3. Refugees flee Central America for the U.S. All right. 4. The U.S. launches the drug war as cities are hollowed out. The U.S. launches the drug war as cities are hollowed out. In the mid-'80s, President Ronald Reagan and his Democratic ally, then Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Joe Biden, joined forces to implement draconian drug penalties, including mandatory minimum sentences and penalties for crack that were famously much harsher than those for powder cocaine. But you simple ass jakes forgot about all that. You fell for all the hype and propaganda, all right, and never even considered. Probably still don't get it that you've been duped. All right. It says the total U.S. prison population surged from 330,000 inmates in 1980 to 1.57 million in 2012. It's 4 times. It's over 4 times. Wow. The drug war, this is number 5. The drug war and mass incarceration leads to a rise of gang violence. It wasn't a war on drugs, it was a war on our people. 6. With some stability restored, the U.S. sends a wave of gang members back to Central America. You see, and now they're talking about possible legislation to designate gang members, and guess who the majority of them are going to be, as domestic terrorists. But yet, all the domestic terrorism our people suffered at the hands of various gangs, who might some of those be? Ku Klux Klan, all these Aryan gangs and nationalists and all this other crap. All right, where was that then? See? Because you and I are the enemy. We always have been. It just came out about the Second Amendment. It was never about some foreign army invading the U.S. It was about controlling the slaves. Consider you've done everything imaginable and unimaginable to a group of people, and all they want to be is free, but you can't consider that a person would want to be free from your cruelty, this wicked ass system you brought up. But that's the thing, you don't consider anybody but yourself as human when by definition you're the ones that aren't. See how this is all turned upside down? Let's get some scriptures. This is, wow. Whew. This is Isaiah. When we talk about the churls and this certain, well, actually, let's start in Psalms. Let's go to Psalm 73. And of course, the heading is the end of the wicked, contrasted with that of the righteous. All right. Let's start at 3, because a lot of people, this is how jakes get tripped up. It says, "For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked." All right. In these churches, as I mentioned earlier, they entice this because they promote this prosperity doctrine. Again, being tools of the system in and of itself. All right. These churches and this philosophy in general has been weaponized. All right. After all, you got to consider, what is Edom's blessing? All right. What was their forefathers' blessing? It is the sword. All right. He is just an instrument of destruction. All right. It says, "For I was envious at the foolish when I saw the prosperity of the wicked. For there are no bands in their death, but their strength is firm. They are not in trouble as other men, neither are they plagued like other men." And this is what you see in many avenues of life, but specifically in the justice system. Again, this is all rigged against us. Verse 6, "Therefore pride compasseth them about as a chain." Look how these devils walk around here. All right. It says, "Violence covereth them as a garment." They're bloody, the bloody man. It says, "Their eyes stand out with fatness. They have more than heart could wish." They come out with these stats about how much more wealth these people have than we do. Of course, because we're stomped at, everywhere we turn. We're, I guess, a yoke, I guess you could say. Got a ceiling on us, you know. It says, "They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression." That's what you saw in some of those comments. Well, you'll see. "They are corrupt and speak wickedly concerning oppression. They speak loftily. They set their mouth against the heavens, and their tongue walketh through the earth. Therefore his pride returned hither, and the waters of a full cup are run out to them. And they say, How doth the Most High know? And is there knowledge in the Most High?" All right? Because these people, I'm talking about the nation of Edom, a lot of our people flock to their, hell, even to their churches. But what I'm saying is for their understanding, because they think the knowledge of the Most High is with these people. These are your enemy. These people were set up to be the wicked. So therefore, that cannot be. But yet our people that go to their schools to study theology, as if you could really do such a thing when you understand what that means. All right. But that goes again to show the arrogance and pride of these Edomites, these so-called white people. But our people continue to fall for the bullshit. All right. Not realizing all these stories, specifically when it came to the apostles, the disciples, and then when they became apostles and they went out, all right, they were perceived as other people as unlearned men because they did not follow those guidelines. They didn't go to their institutions of learning. Only one that was formally educated, I guess you could say, was Paul. All right. So you read the scriptures, and it goes for these Christians, and you really have no understanding of the basic tenets. All right. It says, "Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches." So much for prosperity doctrine. Verse 12 again, "Behold, these are the ungodly who prosper in the world. They increase in riches," because that's what their mind is on. When you go into the Apocrypha in Sirach, there's a warning against that. Let's see. 29. Hold on. Let's see. This goes into usury. Maybe it's, let's see, maybe it's 30. Let's see. No, hold on. Maybe it's 27. Hold on. Let's go the opposite direction. It might be 31. Hold on. Let's see what 31 says. Here it is. Yeah, okay. It says, watching for riches consumeth the flesh, and the care thereof driveth away sleep. That's a lot of our people have been, taught this is what's important. Striving to be rich. All right. It says, 2, watching care will not let a man slumber, as a sore disease breaketh sleep. The rich hath great labor in gathering riches together, and when he resteth, he is filled with his delicacies. That's all his mind is on. All right. The poor laboreth in his poor estate, and when he leaveth off, he is still needy. He that loveth gold shall not be justified, and he that followeth corruption shall have enough thereof. Gold hath been the ruin of many, and their destruction was present. It is a stumbling block unto them that sacrifice unto it, and every fool shall be taken therewith. So there you go. All right. That's what our people have been deceived into pursuing. All right. So let's see. Yeah, this is nothing that we haven't gone over, but it says, let's see. The U.S.-born gangs of El Salvador, like Mara Salvatrucha MS-13, or 18th Street, or perhaps the best known, but similar street gangs popped up throughout the so-called Northern Triangle countries of Central America, El Salvador, Honduras, and Guatemala. While deportees brought many of these gangs to Central America, Stephen Dudley, director of Insight Crime, a publication that covers security in Latin America, said it would be wrong to conclude that deportees created the region's problems with violence. All right. Yeah, this is something we always know. We already know the vast majority of cocaine consumed in the United States is produced in Colombia. Yeah, it's an expression that says nature abhors a vacuum. All right, so what's his describing here is it says the vast majority of cocaine, as I said, as we all know, in the United States produced in Colombia. In the 90s, the U.S. and Colombian governments operating together under a security pact called Plan Colombia decimated Colombia's Cali and Medellin cartels and broke up Caribbean transit routes. So power shifted to Mexican cartels. All right, in 2006, with the backing of the U.S., Mexico launched an all-out war on its cartels. The war has left more than 70,000 dead and severely undermined the Mexican people's faith in their government. The violence has drifted southward to cartels, some led by the same people who had belonged to U.S.-funded Central American Special Forces like Guatemala's, I don't know how to pronounce that, Cayabils. All right, and they have pushed into Central America. All right, it says number 8, another coup. It says in 2009, the Honduran military, with the backing of the Supreme Court, illegally overthrew the elected government of President Manuel Zelaya, a populist reformer. In contrast to the governments of Latin America, many of whose histories are marred by U.S.-backed coups, the American government balked at using the term coup in this case and made little effort to get Zelaya returned to power, instead pressuring Honduras' neighbors to recognize the new government. Wow, a lot of blood on these devils' hands, all right? It goes on and on. I'll put this in a link and you can read it for yourself. It says, today, Honduras, El Salvador, and Guatemala are horrifyingly dangerous places. Children are fleeing. The response from much of Congress and the Tea Party has been to argue for the repeal of immigration laws so that the U.S. can quickly deport the children back to their devastated home countries. But that, said O'Rourke, is an abdication of responsibility. Just on basic humanitarian grounds, we should do the right thing by these kids and accept them as refugees. Or the legal term is asylum seekers. But we also own this problem. We have culpability in it, whether it's our involvement with thuggish governments there in the past, or whether it's the fact we are the world's largest consumer of illegal drugs that are transited through these countries, or whether it's the war on drugs that we've foisted upon these countries. All of those things contribute to the destabilization, the insecurity, the failed governance, the lack of civil society development. So one, we should help now that we've done so much to create the situation, and two, we should work constructively with regional partners to rebuild these societies to the best that we can. And we know, well, he's right, but is that going to happen? No. Because that's what this devil does. You got to remember, they know who our people are. Psalms 83. All right, let's get that real quick. This is Psalms 83. Verse 2, it says, for lo, thine enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. All right. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. They have said, come and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Don't think this is by accident. All right. For they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. Who's the first one? Verse 6, the tabernacles of Edom, the so-called white man, and the Ishmaelites, the Arabs, so-called, and of Moab, the so-called Chinese of the day, and the Hagarenes, more Hamites. All right? So these people that have come together to make sure that we never come back to being a nation. All right? So let's get, let's see. Let's see. Because this whole thing, as you can see how the world, what it's being pushed towards, all right? A total godless society. We're seeing LGBT and all this other madness being pushed. You're bombarded throughout the day with programming via it's your TV, it's your music, you're online, all right? Whatever form of media, entertainment you're looking at, all this weird crap is being promoted. All right, continuing on, it says, the fool has said in his heart, this is Psalms 14:1, the fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have done abominable works and continue to do. there is none that doeth good. All right, this is staying in Psalms. This is Psalm 78. You see the heading here. It's an appeal against the devastation of the land by the enemy. All right, so let's skip on down here to 18. And it says, remember this, that the enemy hath reproached, O Most High Yahweh, and that the foolish people have blasphemed thy name. All right. If you can't tell by now that this is wicked rulership, you got issues. This is Job chapter 9, verse 24. The earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof, but not where and who is. So by this, the earth is given in hand of the wicked. So who are those people over there calling themselves Jews? You mean this is the kingdom? Can't be. It doesn't add up. But see, here's the thing. They know that their time is short. See, if I have to spell it out, I can't. Dadgummit. Yeah, I gotta spell it out. Select it. This is in Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 6 and 1. It says, hear therefore, O ye kings, and understand. Learn, ye that be judges of the ends of the earth. Give ear, ye that rule the people, and glory in the multitude of nations. For power is given you of the Most High, and sovereignty from the highest. Who shall try your works and search out your counsels? Because being ministers of his kingdom, ye have not judged aright, nor kept the law, nor walked after the counsel of the Most High. All right? Horribly and speedily shall he come upon you, for a sharp judgment shall be to them that be in high places. So, you devils don't have long, not long at all. And as it says in Revelation 18th chapter, you know, they're going to get double what they've given us. All right, so with that, I'll call it right there for time's sake. Once again, we're talking about, she pointed out to the VP of, she made that comment down in Guatemala, you know, you're the ones that are responsible for destabilizing these countries, and you're always complaining about people trying to come over across the border. You know, on top of the fact that you're the real, you're the misplaced one. All right, you're the one that doesn't belong here. This was these people. This was Israelites' land long before you damn devils came over to the side of the world. All right, hey. But with that, again, hopefully we have views this is edified. All right, because what we're trying to do here is wake our people up. All right, make them realize that they're Israelites. All right, so-called Negro, Latino, North American Indian, so-called, that you are Israelites. Doesn't matter what you look like. Don't get caught up in all that. If your spirit bears witness, Romans 8:16, to what we're saying, you're an Israelite. So with that, maybe shalom.